farming has taken you into so many spaces and arenas.
Yes.
As a young boy who had a speech impediment, did
Yes.
not see farming for his
I
future,
didn't.
and you have gone all around the world advocating for black farmers.
All around the world. And, I met Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro was the impetus to and the outlet for me to trade in all of the other countries in the continent of Africa. From Nelson Mandela, I was introduced to Nelson Mandela by Fidel Castro. Gaddafi, I was introduced to Gaddafi by Fidel Castro. Venezuela, Chavez, I was introduced. And I was flying from Havana, Cuba to those countries.
Been jet setting.
Yes.
Listen.
Well, one time I got back from meeting, with Fidel Castro. After meeting him 4 times, we were secured a $20 million food contract to supply, basic goods, corn and chicken and some other things. And when I got back to the United States and Miami, Florida, they took me below the airport. I didn't know they had a prison underneath the airport, man. And I said, man, this look like jail. They got bars on it. I said, where am I going,
Yeah.
And they put me in a small jail in the holding room. And the good cop came in. They said, well, we're going to let you go just as soon as you answer these questions, man. And then the bad cop came in and said, they told you you're going to be here a while, right? You're going to be here 2 or 3 days. They told you, right? So they were playing good cop, bad cop. And the whole, they wanted to know how I got to Fidel Castro.
What were you doing?
Who were my political friends that set this up? And what secrets did I provide to Fidel Castro to get a $20 million contract?
So they're thinking you're a spy. You're an informant.
They thought, they called me a communist. They said, are you a communist and do you support your government? I said, man, I'm not a communist. I'm some brother, man, out here trying to make it. I don't have any money,
From Virginia.
From Virginia. And so time goes by and I said, well, I'm supposed to get a phone call. They took my cell phone. And they said, yeah, I had one bar left on the cell phone. I looked at my cell phone. I said, well, I can't call my mom and dad because they're going to panic. They might have been in the hospital but worrying about me. And I looked at that phone. I said, Maxine Waters.
Come on, Rolodex.
And I called Maxine Waters, and I told her where I was. She said, baby, you in jail. Don't you talk to them people no more. And I don't know who she called, but they let me go. Thank God for mentors like that. And you need people in that Rolodex that you got to be able to call that understand where you are and what's going on.
And the urgency of the matter at hand.
I had 20 farmers with me. They let the other 20 farmers go, and they kept me, to interrogate me. And they couldn't figure out how I was getting to these world leaders, and I wasn't flying out of the United States. I was flying from Cuba to those prospective countries through a personal introduction of Fidel Castro.
Yeah. I want to know what lessons, stick out for you in your mind. You've traveled all around the world, meeting with these world leaders.
I would say a couple things.
Yeah.
One, they're people like we are.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, don't ask right away. Don't ask right away because they want something from you too.
You want a relationship.
Find out what the want is, and then you make your ask. All of those countries wanted used equipment, and they wanted food. Food was the biggest thing. So there's certain things that in these part of the countries that they couldn't grow, or they didn't grow in that climate, and this is what they wanted. So I learned that from all of these world leaders. Everybody has a different style, and don't rub their style in that particular meeting. See which way it's going, and learn from them and ask questions.
Yeah.
I asked everybody questions. I was a question asker, and I learned from each one of those guys had a story. Fidel Castro, his story. Gaddafi had a story. The Zimbabwean leader had a story, and his was giving the land back to black people. Whether you liked him or not, he was trying to give land back to black people, and I respect that. So all of those leaders had something that made them there, and they were special. whether you like their politics or not. And the very worst of us, there's a little good, and the very best of us, there's a little bad.
Hmm.
So there's something good with everybody. Is the matter of how you got to look at it. So you want to find the good part and focus on that. I know Fidel Castro had questionable politics, but he also said the way that black farmers are getting greeted in the United States board is because you don't have any money. He said, I want to change that for you. And the United States will greet you differently once you have some money.
Out of all of those moments that have really created the person that we see sitting here, what has been the most life-changing experience over this journey of being an activist and a civil rights leader?
You know, winning those settlements was a biggie for me. And the last one, I got a call from Stephen Benjamin, who was the White House point person for President Biden. So two people played a role in the second part of the settlement. We had three settlements, one in 99, one in 2010. Forward Claims Remedy Act in 2010 provided $1.25 billion for black farmers and $3.4 billion for the Cobell settlement. And Barack Obama when he was a senator, was the lead sponsor, and the co-sponsor was Biden. Little did I know that both of those persons would go on to become president of the United States. So when I walked in the room with, and I knew Senator Obama when he was a state senator, and I was working on the horse slaughter bill. So I went out to the park bench, and he was out there smoking a cigarette. I said, hey, man, I need your support on the horse slaughter bill. He said, yeah, man, black people don't eat no horses, man. Yeah, count me in. And that friendship went to him being a U.S. senator. And when Kennedy became ill, he was my lead sponsor. Kennedy said, he's not going to be able to do this anymore. You have to find a new Democratic lead. And I asked Senator Obama to be the lead sponsor. We went in and we talked for 3 hours. And my brother said, man, you broke your own rule. You didn't ask him to support the bill in 30 seconds. So I broke my own. I didn't even ask him. I left the meeting in such high spirits. I didn't even ask him to support the bill. And I called his chief of staff, and he said, well, O is going to be the leading sponsor of your bill. And during that meeting, Obama said, hey, man, I may run for president. I'm going to need your help. By then, I'm more of a veteran. And I said, yeah, man, count me in. And they said, Senator Obama wants you to come to Columbia, South Carolina to talk about the bill. And I walked into a room, a really small hotel room, and all these cameras were in there. And Senator Obama said, I got John Boyd here, and he's endorsing me. He's endorsing my candidacy to be president of the United States. And I went up and I talked about the bill. At this time, I'm working with my mentor, Ben Johnson, and Hillary Clinton.
I
was on that team. And there was a time period when they were saying Barack Obama wasn't black enough. And I talked about it, and the reporter said, Mr. Boyd, I didn't hear whether you were supporting him or endorsing his campaign or not. Are you? And I said, yes, of course I'm supporting his campaign. And my mentor called me and said, John, you've been out 8 years with George Bush, and you're going to be out 8 more years with Hillary Clinton. That's the biggest, And my brother said, John, what's the worst thing that could happen? The guy's the leading sponsor of your bill. He said, go out there and see what happened. And Barack Obama turned the corner, and I turned with him. He did interview me to be agriculture secretary. I didn't get the job, but I have the utmost respect for President Obama, who is Black history in my aspect, and his wife. They are Black history, and regardless of what this president want to show these images of him, we need to lift the Obamas up and speak up for them on what he did. They said he didn't do a whole lot for black people. They don't know what they're talking about. He put $1.25 billion. That bill would not have happened without him signing that bill. When you asked him what was the highlight, I believe I cried when we signed that bill for $1.25 billion, because I knew the significance of those monies going into the poorest people in this country. And I want to thank Barack Obama for signing that bill. Claims Remedy Act of 2010. Those were some highlights of my career that I think I remember. And the one of getting a phone call from Steve Benjamin and said, your checks were going out for the $2 billion to black farmers, even though Stephen Miller tried to stop it, even though white farmers sued
Yeah.
me in federal court to stop it. God said yes. God said yes. So when man says no, God always has the last word.
Yeah.
And if you keep your hands in God's hands, He will change the outcome, and He will take out of no way and out of all those things, all those losses. They blocked me, but I still managed to get $2 billion into the hands of black farmers, and those are the highlights that make the lows. You know, I went home every year for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and my friend said, "Man, you still working on that? Man, that ain't gonna never happen." and it hurt,
Yeah.
It really hurt, But when you get the win, everybody's your friend when you
Mm-hmm.
win. Nobody's your friend when you're losing.